If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you give it a thumbs up and even think about subscribing to the channel. We plan to be doing this for a while. Thank you. Hello and welcome to Getting Lost in a Story. I am your host, aspiring author Mark Paulus. And since this is the very first episode, let me just give a little bit of background on why I say aspiring. And I think maybe by the second episode, that title might not be necessary anymore. I do have a novel that I'm ready to publish, and that's going to be happening very soon, but I'm not a published author yet. Oh, other than a poem I do have out there in an anthology. But as far as novels go, short stories, writing stories, I am an aspiring author at the moment. And I have, like I said, a completed novel. It's been edited, and I think it's almost good to go. And I have a second novel where I've completed the story. The first draft is done, but it'll probably be draft 6, 7, 8 before it's ready to go out there and needs to be read by a few people. So that's going to be a little while. And a couple of other novels that are in the early stages of writing, plus some short stories here and there. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about me. Now, I love to write stories and I love to read stories, which you might have guessed from the title of this podcast, Getting Lost in a Story. I think few things in life are as enjoyable as getting lost in a story. It may be a story you watch on the big screen or on the small screen. It may be a story you listen to as a narrator reads an audiobook to you. Or it may be a story you read for yourself with the book open on your lap, perhaps a short story, and most of all, as far as I'm concerned, a novel, because you can really get lost in a novel. It takes time to develop, and you start to know the characters and feel like you know them personally. But if you are one who loves to read novels, I would venture a guess that you know the experience of reaching that place in a book where you just can't put it down. And that's an exciting moment. I think we probably all really like that. And for a slow reader like me, that sometimes means I'm on my way to sleep deprivation for that night because I've been up to 4 o'clock in the morning before finishing a novel. Because, the story train is barreling down the track, and there ain't no stopping us now till we get to the last word of the book. I think my favorite stories are the ones where not only can I not put the book down, but when I've read the last sentence on the last page and it is at the end, I'm like, no, I don't want this book to be over. Let's keep it going. There's got to be more to this story. And maybe you know that experience too. Uh, and maybe even better than that are the ones where when they're over and you're going through all that, you wish the story were true. It's so good and you're so into it. You wish that you were reading a true story. I think the first time that ever happened to me was, I believe, the first novel I read as an adult. I was, like a lot of guys, I wasn't much of a reader, and I just decided to dive in and start seeing what I could do. And I picked up, we had an old copy in our house of Mark Twain's A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. And so I read that book. It was so good. I just was drawn into that. And when it was over, I was like, oh, I wish this was a true story. And maybe you've had that experience too. Another time that happened to me way more recently, because that was many years ago. More recently, Michael Crichton's Timeline did that to me. Great, great time travel book. Um, if you've had novels that made you feel that way, I invite you to share them in the comments below. Now, as this podcast gets underway, I have a roughly 4-year plan that involves reading and talking about novels by American authors from around the country, state by state. Now, you may be thinking, please explain. Okay, I will. You may be thinking, the map on the wall behind your head mysteriously disappeared. Well, I have it here. And a little while ago, I came across a watercolor print that you can find on Amazon. It's called, as you can see, emblazoned across the top, Famous American Authors from Each State. And I just thought it was so cool. I had to have it. It's a map of the United States, as you can tell, and painted in the borders of each state is the last name of a famous author who was born in that state. So you can see, for instance, that maybe you could read that Hemingway there in Illinois. You might be saying, what's Hemingway doing in Illinois? He's a Florida guy. And certainly he was, but apparently he was born in Illinois, and so that's where they put him on the map. You can go way up here to Maine. I don't know if I can get that in close enough for you to read it, but that's Stephen King. So the name King is up there. If you go down here to, um, there we go, Mississippi, we have Faulkner, William Faulkner. And it goes like that around the country. This map was painted by Jean Stevenson. She is the co-owner, co-founder of a Charleston, West Virginia uh, bookstore called Echo Lit bookstore. I don't art store. I don't know. It's called Echo Dash Lit. And the store's website says this: we design original, unique art to inspire and to educate while supporting our local authors. Now, they don't know me from Adam. I'm not, I haven't been solicited. I'm not being paid. I just think this is cool. I've been to their website a few times and looked around at some of the stuff, the wall hangings, placards, and other things that you can get on there that have to do with literature. And if you're really into that kind of thing, you want to decorate your wall that way, you might want to take a look at them. I'll put a link to their website in the description to this episode, and if you'd like to check them out, you can click on that. They have some really cool looking products, not the least of which is this watercolor map of famous American authors from each state. And would you look at that? The map is now back on my wall. Magical. I've been wanting to start a podcast to support my writing endeavors, but wasn't sure, what the podcast should be about. I think a lot of authors have podcasts where they teach about writing, and so that kind of reaches out to other aspiring writers. I wanted to reach out to readers, and so kept thinking about what should I do? And then I saw that map on Amazon, and pretty instantly I thought I could do a literary road trip. Oh my gosh. Read a book from each author on the map, do it in order around the country like a real road trip, and talk about the authors and talk about the books on my podcast. And so that's what I've decided to do. I got pretty excited about that. I ordered the map and bought a frame for it, and there it hangs on my wall in its prominent place. I see it every time I come into my office. My first idea was to take the authors on that map and do one a week. And that would have taken us, about a year to get through doing it that way. But then instantly I had a second thought, and that was, Mark, remember, you're a slow reader. And then came a third thought, you're right. Yeah, maybe I shouldn't try to do that. And so I altered my plan to do maybe two authors a month. So I could keep up with that. The problem, though, is keeping up with that. I would probably just keep up with that. It would take me a week at least, probably, to read each novel. And then there's the time to record the podcast, write the podcast, record the podcast, edit the podcast, post the podcast. And I thought, when am I going to have time to write my own books? And so I settled on one author per month. And that'll take about 4 years to get through. Um, right there. Um, Now, my wife Nancy also is going to help me with the reading of these books. That's another thing about trying to do too much at a time, is it would have taken me away from spending time with Nancy. But now, not only have I avoided taking up all that time, but we're going to do this together. And so we will just read the book out loud to each other. We have one copy of the book, and I'll read a chapter and hand it to her, and she'll read a chapter, and we'll just go back and forth like that each day. And that'll be a nice way to spend time together. It'll be reading dates, and dates are always good for a marriage. So that's what we're going to do. And she might even be joining me on this podcast to discuss the books and the authors. So that would be cool too. I have a road trip all mapped out. It's not random, it's not alphabetical. It starts in Illinois, where I live, and it moves through every state in a logical geographical order. So we head first for the East Coast. So we'll leave Illinois, and the we'll do that now, and the first month, and the next month we'll do Indiana, and then we'll jump a little north over the border into Michigan, then come back down a little south into Ohio, and just go on that way around the country, sequentially through the states, like a real live road trip, only it'll just be reading. And I'm looking forward to that. One thing I should add, while I do stick with a lot of the authors on the map, maybe close to half of them, uh, I have done some research and made some changes and come up with my own authors for some of the states. Let me say up front that I am a Christian, and that informs how I live my life and informs the kind of things that I like to read. And they don't have to be Christian books, but I like them to be well, let me just put it this way. Some great authors have written tales that have a higher crudity factor, shall we say, than I want to spend my time reading. While there are other authors out there who have also written tales, good solid tales, where there is not so much of that. That's not an issue so much. In addition to that, there were some authors on the map that I substituted just because I wanted to read some other great writer from a given state. For instance, first up, representing the state of Illinois, and where did I put the book? It's right here. Hold on a second. Is Michael Crichton's Prey. There you go. Get it on there so you can read it. Michael Crichton's Prey. Um, I'm actually using this book to hold up my notes. So let me put it back. And Michael Crichton was born in Illinois. According to the map, um, Ernest Hemingway would be the one we would go with. And certainly Ernest Hemingway would be fine. He's one of the great classic authors of all time. But I'm calling an audible going with Crichton. He was born in Chicago. Of course, both authors are pretty epic. Michael Crichton, uh, in terms of the outreach of his works, maybe the financial gains of his works, he, he's about as epic as you can get. Uh, Numerous bestsellers, several of them turned into films. Some of those films, if not all of them, he was a screenwriter. And um, he's also responsible for the TV show ER back in the 90s and maybe into the 2000s. And that was a great, great show. I believe he was a writer on that show too. And he just won all kinds of awards. And the man died way too early, and that's sad, but he left behind a great catalog of works. He's just an excellent, excellent writer. I've gotten into some of his books lately, and so I wanted to go with him and read another one. Um, so Michael Crichton. Now, he's into the high-tech thriller kinds of things, and that doesn't mean that that's where we're going to go with this road trip. On this road trip, uh, we're not limited to one genre of fiction. It depends on the author in a given state and the kinds of works that author writes. Along the way, we'll get wrapped up in thrillers, mysteries, tales of historical fiction, westerns, etc., etc. Now, I'm doing my best to find out if these are indeed what we might deem clean fiction. And clean fiction can mean a lot of things, I guess, to a lot of people. Maybe some people think that's going to be like, almost childlike, G rated stuff, cozy mysteries, Hallmark Channel kind of stories. Uh, that's not, I'm not looking for 4 years of that. I'm thinking more along the lines of, if you're familiar with John Grisham. I read John Grisham. He's the one that I gravitated toward when I started really getting into novels a few years ago, because I had heard he was a Christian, and so I read, one of his books, and it had a little bit of language in there, but I always thought the language that's in there fits what would be going on in real life. It's not excessive at all, and I've never seen graphic sexuality in there. I've never read an F bomb anywhere. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. And so, uh, with that in mind, I've been asking the search assistant on DuckDuckGo, um, does this author write clean fiction? Is this book clean fiction? And it'll come back and say this is generally considered clean fiction, though there might be some things here and there. Consult individual reviews to be sure, and things like that. So I'm going along with what it's telling me, and as best as I can ascertain, this is going to be a pretty clean ride through fiction. I won't know if the search assistant misinformed me until I read the book. By that time, I will have already announced it. And so I don't want to lead somebody into reading something that they don't care to read, but um, I don't think I can stop that. Because I won't know how the book was until I get to the episode where I talk about the book. And so I'm doing my best to try and make sure we go through um, and stay fairly clean. Look for future episodes to drop right here on the 15th of each month. That is my plan. They won't be live, so I guess it won't matter if you find them on the 15th of the month. It won't matter if you find them 4 or 5 years later and start going along with us on this road trip. Um, that'll be fine. Maybe at some point we'll go live with this, but not at the moment. One of my daughters says that this is going to be like a one-way book club, and I guess maybe that's what it will be like. There won't be an opportunity to have uh, real time back and forth on any of this. Of course, you can always leave comments in the comments section if you would like to do that. But let me just say, let's be nice while doing that. There's a lot of anger in the world. We don't need it to be going on this little podcast here down in our comment section. If somebody doesn't like a book that you do like, well, that's nothing personal against you. That's their taste, that's their prerogative. And if they want to say they don't like it, that's their right. You can just say you do like it and talk about why you do, and just leave it at that. The same goes vice versa on that. Those who like a book that you might hate. So, anyway, all that aside, let's go see if we can get lost in Michael Crichton's Prey. I'm anticipating that that will happen for me. It's described on its Amazon page as, quote, a terrifying techno thriller page turner, close quote. Oh, yeah. Bring it on. And if you'd like to read along, please find a copy and do so. Then join me back here on what will be March 15th in real time. I'm doing this February 15th, 2026. Actually, I'm doing it February 16th or 17th, I think, but close enough. And plan to be back here in a month, March 15th, and maybe Nancy will be on here. So we'll have some give and take on that, talking back and forth. And who knows, maybe along the way, 4 years is a long time. Maybe I'll get comfortable with this whole idea of doing a podcast and start having some guests on to talk about books too. We'll see how that goes. Who knows? We'll find out when we get there. Anyway, until then, God bless and happy reading.